welcome back to another vlog. I haven't vlogged in a while. It's been a ride, as always. I spent the start of October in a really big depression hole, rotting here in my bed for a week, watching mainlining Gilmore Girls 14 to 15 episodes a day. Part of my annual Gilmore Girls rewatch, but it doesn't normally go by that quickly, but that's depression for you. So that was a welcome into autumn, which I have struggled with depression since I was like 14, so it's not new to me, and I've learned that you kind of just have to let yourself go through those episodes, and I feel obviously very privileged that I work for myself and can sort of rearrange my diary to allow myself bed rot. But off the back of that, I then was hit with a really bad fatigue crash with my ME, so that was not so fun. But I wanted to sit and chat, have a yap, tell you what I'm doing. I left you off at my last vlog saying I was going to read Sally Rooney's new book, and I've read the first page 3 times and haven't got any further. That's not commentary on Rooney's writing, that is just a example of the state of my brain right now. I just don't think I feel so intimidated by there being so many pages and it just being so long and no paragraph breaks. I'm just like looking at all the words and they dance on the page when it's like 9 PM and I'm trying to get to bed. So hopefully in this video we can find something that I can read from start to finish. I picked 2 books off my shelves that I thought I might like to read. The Crying Book by Heather Christie. I've had this for a while. It's a short non-fiction book about the science of crying, why we cry, and it's a lot also about suicide, following the author's experience, her own lived experience of mental illness, loss and life, deeply personal tribute to the strangeness of tears. I feel like this might benefit me. I actually didn't cry that much in my last depressive episode. It's more one of those dissociation, don't feel like I'm a real human in the world kind of ones, but I am known for a good cry, especially like an overwhelmed cry, or particularly when I was younger and I'd like fall out with my family. I don't do this so much anymore, thankfully. I live very far away from them. But like an angry cry. I'm a big angry crier, so maybe this will help me understand that. It's the most gorgeous cover. And then I also picked up Mammoth by E. Balthazar, which you saw me haul in my most recent vlog just because it's short and I find her writing pretty easy to get on board with and infatuating, so I might pick up that, but we shall see. What I have been doing is a lot of knitting, so I want to share that with you because I know there's a big crossover here with people who like to knit and people who like to read, and I've really been loving another channel on here called, I think the channel name is just Jazz Beth. I will link her down below. She's a British knitter, crocheter and reader. We have very different reading tastes. She reads a lot of fantasy and like the big books on TikTok, but I really like her vlogs, just like very normal, down to earth. Something about her like really makes me miss home. I don't know what it is, but she's so sweet, and been watching her videos a lot, and the way she like combines her knitting and reading content and talks about how she has these 2 hobbies and sometimes it's hard to pick which one and what to do with what, and she talks about reading on her Kindle and trying to knit at the same time. So yeah, I think there's a lot of you here who like to knit. So while I was depressed, I made this hat, and this is for my friend for Christmas. I gift knit for my friends every year, like different groups of friends. I made a lot of bonnets last year for friends, but 2 of my closest friends here in the city are not people who would want to wear a bonnet, so I didn't knit for them last year, and so I made this for one of them. It's like a more skater fisherman style hat made out of 2 strands of drops in a pool in the orange, like the orange mix colourway. I'm not sure if you can see, but it's got like a yellow halo to it. It's quite cool. And then just the off-white shade. It looks pretty small, but it is like meant to be one of those short like skater hats because that's very much her style. I don't know if I'm going to block it because the thing with drops in the pool is it does stretch out really quickly, so I feel like it might just I might just leave it and wait to see when she tries it on. But I did a really cool chunky stripe, and then I made, this is on a blocking mat, so excuse that, but I made this bonnet for my friend's little baby. She's going to be 1 in February, so instead of knitting for her birthday, I'm knitting her stuff for Christmas because I feel like then she'll get like more winter wear out of it. So I made this red bonnet. It looks kind of shit because it's on the blocking mat, but instead of like a rounded top, which is what I made a lot of last year, this kind of has this like pointed, almost like pixie style top, which I really like. I tried out a different design and it's seamed, which I don't love, and I don't know if she's going to find it the most comfortable because it's quite an obvious seam on the inside, but it was fun to try something new, and I really like the pearl bumps that feature across. This is knit back and forth. Both this and the hat are like loosely, I've like read a few patterns, but they're mostly free-handed, so that's really cool. And then I finally finished this scrunchie, which if you've been around a while, I feel like I was making this earlier in the year, and actually I was making this when I had longer hair, so that's why it's so obnoxiously large. It's based off these like quite trendy Pinterest scrunchies that I saw earlier in the year, and this was an absolute bitch to make. It's made on 3.25 or 3mm needles, and it's a 3-strand stripe, obviously, and this hurt my hands so bad, which is why I had to like put it away for 6 months. But I finally came back to it, and I really wanted to get loads of projects off my needles so I can start again. So this is one I had to finish, and then I've got one more balaclava for a friend that I got really frustrated with and messed up, so I need to fix that, and then I can finally start like a new big garment project. But I'm really pleased with this. It looks kind of silly in my hair right now, but if I do my hair in a bun and just wear it on the back, it looks kind of sick, and I'm really happy with it. I do like how obnoxious it is, and it's my favourite colour. But this was not pattern. This is not, I didn't follow a pattern for this at all. Like I kind of botched it, and you can see on the back, kind of like, because you can wear it both ways, I kind of like how cool it looks on the back with the two like this. But yes, I am pleased this is done, and I think it's really cool. So that's things I finished recently, and then like I say, yeah, it's my friend's balaclava, and then I'm making this. So I've only got one hand because I'm trying to use my microphone more. I'm making this scrappy mohair hat. Let me fix it. It's got a really big, it's meant to have a really big cuff here at the top. This is 5 strands of Drops Kid Silk in the light beige, which I thought was going to be way lighter, but actually when you strand it together it kind of comes out quite grey, which I don't love. So I decided then to use some scraps. This brown I bought for my shawl, but I didn't end up using. It's also Drops, I think, alpaca silk, and this is the kid silk, and then this is an old Wool and the Gang green stripe, and then I'm going to do a blue stripe, and it's going to be like quite scrappy. And my vision for it is, if you know the wrong shoe theory on Instagram, lots of people talk about it, this idea of personal styling where you mix up your outfit and create interest and intrigue by wearing shoes that are like a more unusual pick. For example, like trainers with a very dressy outfit, or like a smart shoe with jogging bottoms, and you can also play with colour in that way, of like colours that aren't traditionally paired together, for example, in a shoe. So yeah, I'm kind of going for that. Like I kind of want the colours to be not necessarily too matchy-matchy. But we'll see how that comes out. It's super soft actually and super squishy, so I'm really excited to have a mohair hat. So I have one right now. But yeah, those are the knitting and the reading plans, and what else? That's all, I think. We're just hanging out. Tom is in really the final stages of his PhD, so life is so up in the air at the moment, which is stressing me out a lot. And if you're on my Patreon, where I do weekly newsletters, you will know I'm talking a lot about feeling untethered and a bit out of control, which is causing me a little bit of difficulty, but happy to have bright sunny days here. Can't remember the last time it rained, so that's positive. Well, they're saying that it'll probably rain like this week. And yeah, just trying to make the most of the autumn in Amsterdam. So yeah, I will catch up with you hopefully when I pick a book and actually read something for the first time in a few weeks. a couple of days. I think it's been longer than that. It's been a week. I just feel so overwhelmed at the moment by all the uncertainty in my life, and all these like things are, so much of our life is up in the air at the moment. And I thought I was like over the anxious hump of it all, but it seems to rear its head every couple of days, which is naive of me to think I would just like be able to talk it out and then never think about it until we resolve all the uncertain things. But that is not the case. So yeah, I've been really struggling to read. Also, sorry if you can hear banging. There continues to be construction all around, like surrounding our house or our apartment. So that's not so fun. But I did read in 2 sittings Mammoth by Eva Balthasar. I really, really enjoyed this. This has a really rural setting. In like a mountainous region outside of like in rural Spain, and it's about a woman really trying to find herself in the midst of solitude, what solitude does to our minds, what need we have as humans for physical touch, for desire. She's living in this farmhouse, and she starts firstly a platonic relationship that turns into something else with the local shepherd, and she starts working with the animals, and it's a lot in here about rurality and farm life and how raw and sort of depraved, I guess, at least as a vegetarian, you could find some of the acts and some of the understanding of the relationship between humans and animals, and a lot about like the land, living from the land, the harshness and the isolation that brings, and innate desires for procreation, for to be in relationship with someone, to be close to someone, and what that does to our psyches. I really, really enjoyed this a lot, actually. And then I still don't feel ready to start Sally Rooney's book. I think I'm just intimidated by the size of it right now, considering like this is what I think my brain can handle. So I picked off my shelves last night Claire Keegan's Foster, which I haven't read yet. I think my boyfriend has read this copy. And it's set on a summer day in rural Ireland, about a child. So I think I might be able to pick this one up tonight. Last night I really didn't feel like reading. I felt just really like meh. Do you know that feeling like your bones feel heavy? And I just felt like fed up, and all I wanted to do was go to bed. But it was like 8:00 at that point, like the evening hours stretched on for so long, and I was just counting down until it was a reasonable time to fall asleep. So yeah, maybe tonight will be my night. Although it's Friday, I think I said that, we're going to the sauna. Our like local outdoor saunas opened again for the season, so we booked the first slot in the evening, which I'm so excited for, to go with some friends, and then we'll probably get a pizza. So I don't know how much reading I would do tonight, because the sauna makes me really tired. But I also thought maybe I might read a Miriam Taves book, because that's always like a safe bet for me. So I could pick up A Complicated Kindness, which Tom also read recently and said was really funny. I've been knitting a lot, but I've really been struggling with like coat hanger pain, and been trying to be really good at doing my physio exercises, which I actually have this week, which is good. But I'll show you what I'm working on, if I can show you with one hand. I started what's the best way to show you? This is the yoke, a toddler jumper for my friend's little girl. I am knitting the size 2. Can you see any of that? This is the yoke. Can you see my very neat raglan stitches for once? This is obviously not going to be the collar. I'm going to pick up stitches. But yeah, it's this lovely green colour. This is the drop superwash merino. I think it's called Big Merino. And I really like the colour. And then I'm going to do white stripes, or like off-white stripes on the body, but not anywhere else, because my brain couldn't do like the maths of adding the stripes while also doing the raglan. So yeah, I have been working on that when I can. It's really fun to make something in mini size. Haven't made a garment in ages, so I thought this was a nice way to get back into it. And then I am also working on that hat I think I already showed you. I did start the audiobook by Susanna Crossman called Home is Where We Start. It's a book, a memoir. I think I featured it in a Radar video. It's about living on, like, growing up in a commune in the 1970s and 80s, and about life there. She was there with her family or with her mum for I think 14 years, and she talks at the start about being one of like the longest standing residents and watching people come and go, watching politics change and watching people's views adapt and the rules of the commune change. The what do you call it, like the introduction chapter was written like from the voice of a child, which I don't always get on board with. I can find that a bit asinine, and I don't know, it sometimes just doesn't work for me in memoir. It feels a bit too try hard. But once we're over that bit, and now she's now reflecting on like what life was like for her mother as a divorced woman in that era and sort of what brought them to the commune. So I'm not loving the audio narration, but I've got the book now, so I just thought I'd keep going. And I think it's quite long. It's like 12 hours long, so I will be a slow listening because I don't have many occasions to listen to audiobooks at the moment, but when I do, I'll be picking that one up. So hopefully I'll get some progress on the jumper over the weekend. And for now, I've got loads of work I need to get onto. So had a pretty good start to the week, actually, pretty productive. Just filmed a bunch of content for Instagram, and yesterday I got a ton of work done and finally wrote something half decent, which felt really good because I haven't done that in what feels like a while. The reading, however, slow going, but I did settle on a book. I started reading A Complicated Kindness. What page did I make it to? 71. I've read this like 3 nights in a row, so the brain, it's struggling, but it is so good to be back with my darling Miriam and her words. She is such a comfort to me. I don't hear many people talk about her books, like the extent of her backlist. Obviously, we all know Women Talking is a super popular book and was then adapted into the film, which was a brilliant film. But her, like, every time I pick up one of her books, I'm like, she can do no wrong for me. I think because, well, I was about to say because I have fascination with the Mennonites and like high control religious groups and the histories of them. Spent quite a bit of time on YouTube watching Mennonite mummy vloggers, which, would you believe, they exist? But that's actually not like an exclusive reason why I love them, because my partner also loves these books and he's by no means fascinated by the Mennonites and like Mormons and all the religious stuff that I like to consume. She just creates these really offbeat and weird and strange characters, and I think because I've read quite a few of her books now, it was really funny to see like a few of the other family names pop up in this, like literally just as passing comments, but I feel like it's kind of, if you know, you know. So this follows Nomi. She's 16, living with her dad. Both her older sister and her mum have fled the Mennonite community that they live in. And the reason why there's a chicken on the front cover is because everyone in the town pretty much works at the local abattoir and chicken factory. So there's a lot of jokes about chickens. But it's really funny. It talks about the family connection to the leader of their group, who is like their mum's uncle or their uncle, the Mouth he goes by, and it's a lot about teenage angst, those like universal feelings of teenagehood that come up even when you are in like a very enclosed and separate from the world type community. This was written I think in 2004, so it's kind of pre a lot of the ways that people connect these days, like through social media and the internet. But our main character, Nomi, is obsessed with New York and she really wants to go to the East Village and like listen to the most popular bands and just be part of the world in a way that her religion and her culture doesn't let her. So, but at the same time, it's like all of that sounds really heavy, but it is so funny and strange, and I just love the characters that she creates. So I'm really happy to be reading this, and I do want to get further in. What I have been doing instead of reading is knitting, but I have also been doing my daily physio exercises. I've just hit an 8-day streak, which I'm actually so proud of myself for, because I feel like I mean, most people, I think, neglect their physio exercise if you are in like long-term physical therapy. But I have been keeping up with it, doing it every morning. So I wanted to show you where I am at with this jumper. I can't remember. I think the last time I showed you it, which was less than a week ago, it was looking not like this. So last night I bound off on the body. I can't remember if I said this is a top-down roll neck jumper pattern that I just found on Ravelry. It's like very 90s, which is what I wanted. I ran out of the cream colour stripe, so there's like a little bit longer here, but you can see it like naturally rolls at the edges, which is what I really want. And I'm about to pick up for the sleeves. I'm so proud of how this is coming along. It's so cute. I knit the size 2, so this is going to be for the baby's birthday. She's turning 1 in February, but she's a big baby, and everyone who you meet who knits baby and children's coats says like always knit at least one size bigger, because by the time you give it to them and they wear it, if it's not the right season or whatever, they won't get much wear out of it. So good thing with these kind of jumpers is you can just roll up the sleeves, or she can wear it with little leggings. And yeah, I'm so happy with it. So I did order yarn to knit another jumper for her, because apparently I'm addicted to baby knitting. I also ordered needles to start a jumper for Tom and I to share, so we'll see what I pick up next. But that's the knitting update and the reading update. Hopefully I'll get back to you when I finish A Godforsaken Book. Pals, it's been a while because I've been in a reading slump, but I have lots of things to report. Firstly, that I did finish A Complicated Kindness, so that's a win. Did it take me almost 2 weeks? Yes. I really enjoyed this. Tom said it was his favourite of Miriam's books, which I don't know if it was my favourite. It's definitely the most overtly religious, which I did really enjoy. So we follow Nomi living in this Mennonite community in Manitoba, with her dad after various family members leave or are excommunicated, and she's a teenager trying to work out what she wants, and her relationship with her dad is very sweet and very tender, and the church is this awful, all-powerful, unrelenting source of agony and difficulty in their lives, but it's presented in such a almost like feeble way. Like, we don't get a lot of overt religious doctrine stuff, but we do just have this like all-powerful leader called the Mouth, who's actually like Nomi's mum's brother, so her uncle. And it's just this, it's almost that idea of like, when people are so highly controlled and so indoctrinated, you almost don't need to control them anymore because they police one another, and there's a lot of that in here. So I did really like the elements of that. This is definitely the most plotless book of hers I've read so far. I think it's more about like the comings and goings of the town and her life as a young person. It's not really like setting out on big adventures like maybe Emma Voth was, or in Women Talking when there's this big like crisis. We don't really see that, but there is like a real understated nature to the conversations, which I really liked. So yeah, it was a good read, and I think I would have loved it even more if I wasn't slumping. I finished my baby knit, which is so cute. Can you guys see it? Sorry, the light. It looks really big, which is why it's going to be for her first birthday. Oh, I've got one end to weave in, but I just got this off the blocking mats. It's taken so long to dry. I will say that Drops, this is the superwash merino from Drops, and it's already like, doesn't look great, but that's fine because she's probably only going to fit in it for like a month. No, hopefully, because it's nice and big. That would be good. So I followed a top-down raglan roll pattern, but I kind of adjusted. I did these cute ribbed, can you see, cuffs with, you basically just do like your rib and then you let it go for a few rounds of stockinette at the end, and it creates this curl, which is what I did at the bottom, and also on the neck, which is a bit different to what the pattern was. I will try and remember the pattern name and link it below, but it's on Ravelry. So I'm really chuffed with that, finishing my first jumper. And then I made a couple of hats. Can you tell I've been knitting more than I've been reading? This hat, so I think I showed you this one earlier. So these are for two of our best friends in the city, and they're a couple, so I made them like not matching but coordinating hats, if you can see. So I did this orange one first, and then I did this grey one with an orange stripe. This one, and these need blocking as well, but I think I said already before, it's drops in a pool, so it does stretch out. This one I did less of that skateboarder shape, it's like a bit taller. So happy to have finished 2 Christmas presents, and I think I just have one more gift knit I'm going to do this year. I also want to knit something for my mum, I think, but I'm not sure what that's going to be. Kind of, she's coming to visit soon, so I might actually just ask her and not keep it as a surprise. Then I made myself this like scrappy mohair hat, which I really like. It's made of 5 strands of not kid silk, alpaca mohair, the drops, like the cheaper drops one. And then this is the kid silk in it. This is old Wool and the Gang, and this is old Marjo yarn left over from my scrunchie that I showed you. Wow, the lighting is so bad. I really like it. I think it's really cute. I'm really bad at get so impatient and I cast off my hats really quickly, but I actually think this one's a good length, and I really like a mohair hat. And what else do I have to show you? We went into town the other day for a little book shop treat. First I got new socks. They've opened a new Uniqlo, if you're in Amsterdam local, near Arquette. Which I'm glad there's now 2, because the big Uniqlo in Rockin is so busy with tourists, because it's like right there in Central. This one's a little bit further out. It was still busy, and in terms of like wheelchair access, it's way worse, because let me just rant to you about wheelchair access for a second. What pisses me off the most, so that this is like, they've taken over a building, but they've like gutted the whole thing, done it, like put the lift in, you know, like obviously done all this work. And then they've installed, so it's got a lift, which was already like cluttered with boxes all around it. Like if you're in a power chair, you got no hope. And then on every floor, it's like a floor and a half. So you get out of the lift, and then there's like, you're in one section where it was just like hats and gloves, and then there's 3 stairs, and then you're in the main clothing section. And they have one of those like self-propelled, like almost like stair lifts that the chairs go onto, that was so big, and it was so busy that there was no way you could even open it out to get on it. And I also just I like have so much, I don't know, like obviously a lot of it's internalized ableism, but I really don't like drawing attention to myself in busy places in my wheelchair. Like with Tom, he gets stressed, I get stressed. Like it's a big point of argument for us, if I'm honest. It's like being out and about in my wheelchair and having to like navigate the city is often when we end up bickering. Because I don't think I have a vlog really in my wheelchair, to be honest, but I like my wheelchair's not self-propelled, like Tom pushes me in it. So he's the one who's like doing the manual labor. And also there was just like no way the staff even knew how to use it, and it pissed me off so much that they had just gone to all this effort of building this brand new store, and they couldn't even put, like, to me that's not real access, because it's that mini lift on the floors is not accessible for a customer to use on their own. Like you have to ask for help, and if you've been into like a busy shopping store like in a touristy city, like obviously there's hardly anyone around to ever ask anyway. Then you have to send Tom off, and then I'm parked in the middle and people are looking at me, or people are like, oh, do you need help, trying to ask me questions, and it's just like a recipe for disaster. So although the Rockin Uniqlo is way busier, at least the lift is like just normal. You can go up to every floor on your own and not be bothered. So that's a rant about that. But anyway, we wanted to pop in because Tom and I both really love the JW Anderson for Uniqlo collabs, particularly their accessories. We both got some new socks because they do heat tech socks, which in the winter are really great. So this is going to be completely blown out. But I got this like off-white, like quite thick ribbed, and I have no problem. I say I try not to buy knitwear these days because I knit, but I'm never going to knit socks, I can tell you that now. It just doesn't interest me. I think I would be bad at it. So anyway, I got these rib socks, and then I got these blue textured socks, which are both heat tech. So I was very happy with them. Then we went to one of our favorite shops, which is also not fully accessible, just to let you know. It's called, I'll just show it to you. It's called RNL. And basically, it's a big poster shop that sells a lot of vintage, out of print posters from like local and like big international art exhibitions, film posters, like all in those big slots that you slide through. It's such good value for money. I get so many gifts in there. Actually, I've never taken my mum in there, which I should, but I always take like when my arty friends come to visit, because the posters are like half the price of the ones you can buy at the Rijksmuseum, and they're so much cooler. So we went in there to get a gift for a friend. I think I put a little clip of it. So like an old vintage exhibition poster with cats on it, and it's orange, and her bedroom's orange. But we also I picked up some Mithy postcards, which are also my favorite thing they sell in there. I've definitely sent these to a few friends before. I got this wedding one. I think it's really cute, and I'm tempted to go back and buy a few more and just use them as our wedding invites, because we're not really having a wedding, but like to invite our witnesses to ceremony and stuff. I got that one, and then I got this sparkly one, and I got one more, but I already used it. And then Tom and I just loved it. I don't know if this is meant to be officially Winnie the Pooh or not, but we liked this football one. They're always good if you're like, for example, if I'm sending a handmade knit to a friend or something where you don't need to send a full card, having these are really handy. Then I just picked up this birthday card because it was a Picasso print. No, it doesn't actually have to be a birthday. I'm just like, I am my mother's daughter. I have a card collection. I've always got a card on hand for whatever I need. And I saw this one and thought, yeah, even just like as a like, sorry, you're sad card, or like, I don't know, I just really liked the image on it. And it was a good price, under €3. And they also have a lot of vintage postcards, which are really cool. Tom loves to look through like the football ones and the sports ones. So that was good. Then we went into Tiger, and I don't know if this is sacrilegious, but I bought Christmas wrapping paper just because it was so cute. And I was like, well, I don't really go into the centre. We like made a special trip to go to the poster shop to buy a present for a friend. So I was like, I never come into Tiger. And I saw this sage green with candy cane one. Then they had this blue stripe one, which is not like, I feel like I can dress out to be Christmassy because I bought this red velvet ribbon, but equally I can use it for birthday presents. So I picked up those. And then book-wise, I feel like I need to change the lighting. Please hold. Okay, I think this lighting might be a bit better. I just wanted to show you, Tom and I, or mostly he, treated me to a couple of books because, like I say, we took an outing to buy a gift, and then I was just having a really hard week, and we decided to treat ourselves in the bookstore. We did a bit of a crawl because we were, I think I mentioned, we were looking for Miriam Tay. Oh no, I've got this book dirty, damn it. We were looking for new Miriam, or old Miriam Tays, but that was really hard to come by. I think we're gonna have to pre-order that, but that didn't stop us buying books. Firstly, I want to show you a book that we ordered online for our friend's birthday, in case I have any football watchers out there. This is a book that Tom's had his eye on for a long time, and our friend who we're giving a poster to, the same one who's getting one of those hats for Christmas, is a huge Arsenal fan. I come from an Arsenal family, Tom does not, but culturally it's like a really interesting club in London, particularly because it's attached to a lot of the South London Black community. And this is Black Arsenal Club Culture and Identity. And it's essentially an Arsenal photo book. It's so beautifully produced. It's like part coffee table book, but it also has a lot of essays in it. I hope you can see some of this as I'm trying to show you. But Tom was naming a lot of the contributors that would mean something to you guys that perhaps don't mean things for me, but it's got 28 like photo essays in it. Oh, Paul Gilroy's in it. That's who we were talking about. Paul Gilroy of There Ain't No Black on the Union Jack, who's like a very famous writer. Ian Wright's in here, Lola Young, like lots of different people. So I think she's really gonna love this, and they're moving house. And yeah, I was just chuffed. You know, when you just find the perfect gift for someone, that's what I think this is for my bestie. So I'm excited to give her that. And then I guess you guys want to see the book haul. Oh, I actually did get 2 little candles in Flying Tiger because it's cozy season in this house, and we just finally got our lighting set up in our living space perfect. Like we've got so many more sidelines, so we never need to turn on even like our big over the sofa light. But part of that is having candles on the coffee table. So I got an orange one and a cream one. Okay, book haul. I'm going to show you Tom's first because I have left to say about them. But we went to Skeltimer, which is my favourite bookshop in the city. I actually started a thing on Instagram sharing my favourite spots in the city because I get so many messages from you guys and I feel so bad that I always just send screenshots of like the list I send to my mates, but I wanted to get more book stuff up there. So yeah, Skeltimer is my all-time favourite. Great lift, great access. They just put a little ramp in the front, so there's not even a small bump anymore. And it's got those self-powered lifts on the floors. Got a cafe, got a great disabled toilet. No complaints about Skeltimer, except the non-fiction's not that good because it's not organised by language. So I mostly buy my non-fiction at, if it's a book I'm specifically looking for that's new, then I'll just go to Waterstones or the American Book Centre, but that is more expensive, I think. Anyway, Tom we were talking about Louise Erdrich, newest book. I think this has come out either for an award or if it's just been released, but that was a lot more expensive because obviously it was like a hardback release. So I went to show him a lot of her backlist and explained the ones I know about, and he went through and chose one. So this was €15, and I think so he likes to read a lot of books from Indigenous authors. One of his favourite writers is Richard Wagamese. I think Richard Wagamese perhaps is from the same Indigenous tribe as Louise Erdrich, or perhaps that's not right. I can't remember. He told me that there was some connection between them basically when he looked it up afterwards. And we obviously both love Tommy Orange. Went to see him recently, so it was top of mind, and he wanted some new fiction that's like, he obviously gets to read everything that I buy, and I kind of curate our library, and then he buys his football and his music books, but he doesn't buy a ton of his own fiction, because why would you when you're getting it all for free on my shelf? So yeah, he wanted to buy a couple more books that like I wouldn't necessarily be buying, but I led him in the direction of this, and this is called The Roundhouse, and it follows a woman who's attacked on a reservation in North Dakota. The details of the crime are slow to surface because Geraldine is reluctant to relive or reveal what happened to the police or her husband or her son. She slips into an abyss of solitude, and Joe finds himself thrust prematurely into adulthood, which he is ill prepared. While his father, a tribal judge, endeavours to wrest justice for a situation that defies his efforts, Joe becomes frustrated with the original investigation and sets out with his friends, Kathy, Zach and Angus, to find out answers on his own. So it's part mystery, part crime, obviously talking a lot about violence against Indigenous women, which we know is an epidemic both in Canada and America and Australia, actually. And this book won the National Book Award, so I'm sure he will hopefully really enjoy this and then have a new author to, pick up backlist copies from. So that's that one. And then this one I featured in a radar video fairly recently, and it sounded like pretty weird and wacky, but I kind of thought on the right day Tom might like it, and I showed it to him in the bookshop and he was sold. So this is The Borrowed Hills by Scott Preston. This was a bit more expensive. This was €22 because it's a export paperback, which means it's normally the same price as a hardback. If you live in a country where the native publishing industry is not in English, then most of the English books you read will be export paperbacks. So it says, for a mouth disease is spreading across Cumbria, emptying the valleys from sheep and filling the skies with smoke. Two neighbouring shepherds lose everything and put aside their rivalry to join forces. They set sights on a wealthy farm with its flock of prize-winning animals, and so begins this dark tale of Steve Ellman and William Hearn. Sheep rustling leads to difficult decisions, and Steve's only distraction is his growing fascination with William's wife, Helen. As their home comes under the sway of a lawless outsider, is left to Steve to save himself and Helen in a savage conflict which threatens their ancient way of life. So this is a book about sheep rustling, which I was kind of like, question mark, what sheep rustling? But Tom knew all about it because he grew up not in Cumbria, but in the countryside, in a rural place with an agricultural community. So I think he will connect to a lot of those parts, but it also sounds like it could just be a romp. So that's The Borrowed Hills. And in terms of the books I picked up for myself, I really was in the mood for a damn right classic family saga. I didn't really have anything in mind. I didn't want to spend a ton of money on a new release one. And then I was like, let me just go back to some of the originals I haven't read. So I haven't read any Anne Enright, and I wanted to buy The Gathering, but I won't lie to you guys, the cover was so hideous, I couldn't do it. Plus, I know I could find that one secondhand at the local secondhand bookshop.
So in the end, I settled for The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. This is one of my mum's favourite authors, although I don't think she's read this. She's read just much more of her recent work. And this is set between, it says, the American culture of his hometown and the Bengali heritage of his family. He feels unsure about who he is, an awkward burden, just like the inherited values he wishes to cut aside. An intricate portrait of the immigrant experience set across 3 decades and 2 continents. So I went for this. Also, I thought it was fairly short in terms of family saga, because I thought about reading A Suitable Boy. I thought about reading a Fine Balance. I thought about picking up, what's that other one people are talking about that was like 26 hours on audio? That's also set in India, I think. I don't know, basically I picked up a lot of different ones, and then I was like, do you know what, I think I want something fairly basic, because I knew what mood my brain was in, and I do want to read this fairly soon, so perhaps this will even be in the next vlog. And then I love the cover of this. This is The Breakdown by Kathy Sweeney. I've seen a couple of people review this, but not a ton. And this is essentially like woman on the verge, woman on the run, but she's in her middle age, I think. It says, an ordinary day in a contemporary Dublin. An ordinary middle-class woman wakes up in her ordinary suburban home. Her husband is next to her and her children are asleep. But without thinking much about it, she walks out the front door and never comes back. She travels by car, train, then ferry, finds herself in, this is what sold me, which you're going to be like, yeah, what, Hannah? Finds herself in service stations and shopping centres. I have read both non-fiction books about both service stations and shopping centres and car parks. I'm really fascinated by the like urban architecture, sociology of it all when it comes to those in-between spaces. So I feel like this might touch on that. And it says, 48 hours later, alone in a cottage in Wales, she faced up to what she's been ignoring, the signs of a breakdown. The font is really big. The pages are really like wide margin, and I could get through this in a day or two. So that's what sold me. I was buying books that are definitely based on the mood I was in at the time, and I hope to read them fairly quickly, and hopefully you'll see them in an upcoming vlog. So that's all I have for you today and this week. This has been a really long, as in like a lot of days in this vlog, but we did finish 2 books. I also don't think I'm going to do an end of the month October wrap up, just because like the 2 books in this video are the most notable books I read this month. I really didn't read anything else. That I read like 3 other books, and none of them I care that much about. So if you follow me on Storygraph, you would have seen them, but otherwise I'll post a quick thing on Instagram, and let's hope November is better for my reading. I will see you all then.